Hi, welcome to Lori Krein's Open Studio. I'm Lori Krein. Today we're going to learn how to make an eco-friendly assemblage. And I also wanted to remind you that you can go onto my website, lorikreinstudios.com, to get information about today's project. You can download project sheets that gives you detailed information and materials and supplies that you need on how to do this project. And also you can find out about upcoming events and announcements and about classes and workshops that you can sign up for. And this is an example of what we're going to work on today. And I have made some of the materials, and I'll talk about that when I get to it. But as you can see, it's a miniature assemblage. And so let's get started by talking about the materials that you need to make this project. The first thing that you're going to need is let's see if I can move some of this out of the way. This is a box frame that you can get at any local craft store or supply store that sells frames. And it usually comes with a cardboard insert in the back. I don't have one that has it right now, but it makes it for easy hanging. But I didn't buy this at the store. I got this at a yard sale. I got a whole big box of them. So just look around and see what you can find in your house or at yard sales that's already there, or a thrift store even, that you can use as a hard backing to put your assemblage on. So you need a box frame. You also need some paper. This is actually latka paper. Do that. The other thing we're going to be using is weld bond. This is a really heavy-duty glue, a craft glue that you can use, and tacky glue also works, but I've found that weld bond works really well for these kinds of projects. And the other thing that I use is acrylic matte medium. So you're also going to need some small paintbrushes that have skinny or flat tips, and that is for adhering the glue onto each piece of found object that we're going to use. And you also need a little bit of a bigger brush for gluing the paper onto the box frame. And also, I'd like to, you can use gloves if you like. You can get these at any drugstore to protect your hands if you're worried about getting them full of glue. And today I'm not going to use gloves. I'm just going to put those over off to the side. And you also would like to need to have like a paper towel or something that or wax paper actually works really well, so that you don't get your table all messy. So the first thing that we're going to do when we make an assemblage on the box frame is we have to cover the box with the paper as our background. So the way that we do that is we take a bigger flat brush that I have over here, and you want to get the water off. And what I'm going to do is put some glue on the back of the paper, and you just want to put a nice thin coat there. And there you go. Now of course, before I did this, I cut the paper a little bit bigger than the box. So as you can see, you just lay the box on top of the paper, and then you cut around and you cut the corners out there so that there's not too much paper on the corners. So after you put the glue on, then you just place the box on top of the paper, and then you flip it over. And then you just want to smooth it out. You just push from the center out towards the edges, and that gets all the bubbles out. Now I like to also put a coat of glue on top of the paper. Now you don't want to rub it in too much. You don't want to go over it. You don't want to overwork it, because the paper will tear if you're not careful. So I just put another thin coat, and the reason I do that is because it makes it easier to slide your fingers across the paper and get all those nasty air bubbles out, because we don't like air bubbles in our collages or our assemblages. Of course not. So you want to just smooth that out, and then you go and you wrap the edges around the sides like that, and you can see the corners. You just kind of tuck them in, and then you overlap it a little bit on the sides. So as you're going, you just want to keep rubbing the paper. That's really important to get those air bubbles out. But actually, I have one here now that is already dried. So you want to wait until the paper dries before you actually start gluing on it, because otherwise the glue might not stick as well. So now we have our surface all prepared. So I'm going to put that down on the table. And the next thing you want to do is you want to find some fun pieces of found objects that you can use on your work. So now, since this is the one I'm going to do, I'm going to use that as a guide. Now, I don't even know what these things are. There's some kind of hardware. Here we have those. We have a little tile that I made, and this one says, I don't know if you can see that, but it says Joy. And I made those out of Sculpey clay. And we're going to do that on a separate show, a whole separate show on just how to do make tiles out of Sculpey clay. But basically I just took a rubber stamp, put it in the Sculpey, baked it, and then painted it and rubbed the paint off. But I'll show you a demo of that on another show. Anyway, so we've got that. We've got some washers. We've got a little, this actually came off of a bracelet. It's just a little heart that's got some cute little beads, different colors on it. This is some kind of a fishing lure, I believe. We have a little mirror and a couple more tiles that I made and some other little pieces of hardware that I don't really even know what they are. So once you've laid out your design, you can then start gluing. So the kind of glue, like I said, is Weld Bond. That's the kind of glue that I use, and it's just a white craft glue. And what I've done is I put it in this little container. And the reason I did that is because if you try to squeeze it out from the tube and put it on the tile or the piece, it can be kind of hard, and sometimes it doesn't come out really easily. So I just find that I have more control of the glue if I use a paintbrush instead of getting right out of the tube. So, so I'm just going to start at the top, and basically, you know, you don't want to put too much glue on, but you want to put enough so that it sticks. Sometimes, you know, if you don't put enough glue on, then it'll fall off, and of course you can just stick it back on again. But so I put on a nice coat of glue, and I want to leave a little room around the edges so that when the glue kind of squeezes out, it doesn't come out over the edge. But if it does, that's okay, because it pretty much dries clear. So once I put the glue on, then I'm just going to put it in place, and I'm just going to gently press down on it so that it does stick to the bottom. Now, and then one piece of advice is that when you find objects that you want to use on your assemblage, you want to find things that have flat bottoms or flat underneath surfaces, because if you find something that's bumpy, it's just going to be really hard to glue, and it might not stick very well. So basically I try to work from the middle outward, and the reason is because once you've got the middle pieces done and you work outward, then you don't have to really disturb, you don't want to disturb anything. So if you work from the outside in, you might start knocking around some of the ones that you've already got done. So it's always best to work from the inside out. So what's really fun about these is that when you make the tiles, you know, it's nice to have the different pieces of found objects on here because they are recycled. But the other thing is that when you have the word, like this one has the word joy on it, it's kind of inspirational. It's like, you know, you're sharing the love. Sometimes I put the word love, I put the word peace, the word smile, something to inspire people that when they look at it, it makes them happy. So that's kind of the idea behind these. And you know, you can just kind of find stuff around the house that you might want to use to make these. And I think I've glued everything on. I didn't use everything in my pile, but that's okay. You know, I left a few pieces off. But that's basically how you make an assemblage. And I'm going to show you a couple of other ones that I have made. But this is, again, this is the one that's already been finished, and they look pretty similar. I collected two of everything so that I could show you, you know, as the process went along, what it looked like when it was finished, and then I could show you the step-by-step process. So that's that. And so after the glue dries, you want to give it about 24 hours for the glue to dry, and you want to make sure you clean your brush. I just basically put my brushes over here in my little can of water. After the glue dries, To give it a little bit of punch and shininess, you can coat it with polyurethane, and it's I use the gloss polyurethane. I use the water-based kind, and that works really well, and it gives it a nice even tone, and it just makes it pop a little bit, and it makes it a little bit shiny, so it just feels like it's more finished. So let's take a step over here to the easel, and I'm going to show you a couple of other pieces that I have done. And this one, I'm going to hold it up here a little bit. This one is made out of an old drawer front from a house that had their kitchen redone. So the drawer front, as you can see, this is where the drawer was. And what I did is I just covered it with different kinds of papers, some handmade papers and art papers, and the background. And then I put some Japanese writing from a book that I have found, and some string. And then this is just a decorative element, a piece of metal. And I made the tiles that say inspire, dream, and believe. And I put them in 3 different places. This one has a washer behind it. And this just has some paper in the background and some paper that looks like bark. And then I just put a thin piece of that eco-friendly lot good paper I was talking about before. So anyway, that's a real simple way that you could make a piece of artwork out of just a simple old drawer front that is probably going to be thrown away. I hope that you've enjoyed the show today and learned something, and I hope that next time you see a piece of junk that you'll look at it a little bit differently and maybe make a piece of artwork out of it. So I'm going to take off my apron because we're just about out of time. So I wanted to just share a couple of things with you before we need to leave for the day. So what I wanted to do is share with you, before I sign off, my eco-friendly tip of the day. And today, what I want to talk about is that clothing, when clothing is manufactured, textiles require large volumes of water, and that comes away contaminated with chemicals that were used earlier in the process. So even though cotton crops accounts for about 1% of U.S. crops production, there's 10% of the pesticide use in the U.S. goes to cotton production. So, you know, next time you go to buy yourself some new outfits, you might want to think about that. And some suggestions that I have for you, instead of going to the store and buying new clothes, which is always fun, and you know, you want to go treat yourself too sometimes to buy new clothing, of course, but think about going to your local thrift store. You know, the thrift stores are becoming a little bit more particular now that a lot more people are donating their clothing. So there's some really nice stuff there. You can find some great bargains and some really great clothing at the local thrift store. And also you might want to host a clothing swap with your friends. So everybody bring a bag of clothes that are not stained and they're clean, but that you're just kind of sick of it and you don't want to wear it anymore, but they're still wearable and they might still be in fashion. So it would be really fun, you know, get together with your friends, everybody bring a bag of clothes and just swap your clothing. And also just to buy fewer clothes, and buy clothes that don't need to be dry cleaned, because dry cleaning puts a lot of chemicals into the environment and it's not really good for the environment. So you want to make sure that you check the tags and the labels of your clothing and make sure that they don't need to be dry cleaned. So that's my eco-friendly tip of the day. And remember to check my website for resources, information, project sheets that give you detailed instructions on how to do the project that we did today, and that's LoriKreinStudios.com. And also you can sign up for workshops and classes that I'll be teaching, and for any other upcoming activities. So I wanted to thank you for joining me today. I hope you liked our program, and I want to remind you to dream, create, and inspire. And thank you, and have a creative day.